Hi and good evening, everyone. My name is Albert, and this is Vlogs About Nothing. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your very busy night to join me. I really do appreciate that. So let's just jump right into it. One of my new favorite shows is Universal Basic Guys. And for a number of different reasons, and I'll go ahead and say it publicly, it does appear as if, historically speaking, the mass media may in fact have some kind of inclination as to what could potentially happen in the future, but that's not what this video is about. It's about how I really enjoy Universal Basic Guys. So, not often. Fox is like your Trump, you know? It's just, there's very few things you like about it or him, but nonetheless, you just can't get enough of it sometimes. And I tell you, Fox in particular has been a pioneer in many different areas as it concerns the film and entertainment industry. Not so much as the propaganda pen pushing boomers that have flooded our airwaves for since before boomers were a thing. I don't know. They've been on the airwaves for quite some time, but nonetheless, it is a Fox show, which I think is interesting because there aren't many Fox shows. It's almost as if the American public really enjoys lots of the network shows that the company makes and produces and distributes. And I think they are owned by Disney. So, it's just interesting how Disney owns most things. And in fact, when they brokered that deal, I do recall now, in fact, that the only division of Fox that Disney does not own is the Fox News Channel. So that is, in fact, a fact. So I'm kind of answering all my own questions out here out loud, I guess, just because it is interesting. And before Disney came along, I think Fox had quite the catalog. It still has the longest running cartoon in entertainment history, and I feel like The Simpsons should have been over 15 years ago, but hey, if people are still watching it and it's still as good as it once was, which I'm sure it is, occasionally I'll watch an episode of Simpsons, occasionally I'll watch an episode of Family Guy. There are lots of Fox shows that are good, and I watch them, and Universal Basic Guys is one of them. And going back to the beginning of the video, I feel like it is an introduction being presented by two white guys that are brothers and are from West Philly. I believe they're in West Philly. If not, they're in South Philly, but they're in a cool part of Philly. All of Philly is cool, but I've been to UPenn and University City, and that's where Will Smith is from. I guess not really a brag now, but or flex. It's just I've seen Will Smith's old apartment building while I was at UPenn in University City in Western Philadelphia. That was awesome. So I got this thing for Philadelphia. It's just interesting because I feel like I like New York City most, but Philly's right up there. I only like New York more because there's more people, but Philadelphia is one and will always be, I think, one of my favorite places to visit. So, go Philly. Anyways, that's what the show's about, right? Like, in a nutshell, that's what it is. But most of the time, the American public needs to be introduced into new concepts in a way that is simple and understandable. And hey, I'm saying that it's one of my new favorite shows of all time. So, they must be doing something right. I don't know if their demographic is middle-aged unemployed men, but if that's what the demographic is, I'm all for it, because not only do I fit within that demographic, I just feel like it's so much more than just a cartoon, because it is in fact what the world could look like if we just decided to be better voters and just be overall better citizens as it concerns our private, sovereign, individual American citizenship, and just what that means and how that entails some kind of civic engagement at some point or one another or another in our life. And it's just interesting that, again, Universal Basic Guys speaks to a very, very larger concept, and that concept being universal basic income. And I think it's important because we always talk about universal basic income here. That's kind of going to be my platform, I think, moving forward as a social capitalist, just speaking out loud, right? Because it is, in fact, a platform, and it will require a person to push forward this platform as an agenda, as its primary fundamental goal. And that's what I'm ready and willing to do for all of you guys. Only because it benefits everybody, right? I mean, seriously, there aren't going to be more jobs in the future. There aren't going to be a surplus of newly created employment that will provide careers. And so I think it's really time to just consider the idea of providing people with universal basic income. Now, in a joking way, it is in fact basic. I really don't understand arguments that say the welfare from the state is something bad. How is that bad? How is free stuff bad? Especially when your country can afford it. It's like going over to your rich parents' house and them not giving you food. You know, I mean, it's sort of like, hey, thanks for inviting me, but I mean, do you mind footing the bill for dinner? I mean, I know you can afford it, right? And I know it might not be politically correct to, ask you to be so kind in your sharing there. But truly, it is basic income. You feel me? It's not like anyone ever has advocated for universal extra income. Yeah, I thought about that one. It's been on my mind all day. And regardless, I think it could have been delivered a little better. But you understand what I'm saying, right? Like, universal extra income is not a thing. Extra food money is not a thing. Like, it blows my mind because the welfare on behalf of the state, or on behalf of its citizens, provided from the state, is not something that is extra. I mean, again, it's not like people that already have hundos in the bank account apply for food stamps because they have hundos in the bank account and they can afford $100 grocery receipts every time they go. You feel me? Like, I don't know. I'm just saying that that's not a thing. People don't ask Uncle Sam for anything more than what we all deserve. And I feel like if we're nuclear family oriented, if we're Western thinking moving forward and we want to progress, we just really need to figure out what's important. And as an American, I understand jobs are important. And if there was a future that had any jobs, I would be so for just specifically raising the federal minimum wage to a federal living wage. And that needs to happen too, right? So it's not just universal basic income, but after that's been established, maybe that can offset some of what will desperately be needed moving forward as it concerns those of us that still want to work, but really need to be paid a little bit more, at least a little bit, in the sense that if UBI is a thing, we can all live our lives like the universal basic guys, which is getting a check every month after you get laid off from your job, which inevitably you will, right? I mean, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you guys are going to lose your jobs. This is going to happen. So instead of 3 years going by, maybe 5, 6 at best, and us having this conversation then, I feel like it's really important to start laying down the principles of what will be required moving forward in the very near future. And so, just a friendly reminder, universal basic income is where it's at. It is, in fact, a viable and, I would argue, singly most important part of a solution that will be provided, given that all of us, especially all of us under the age of 40, as I currently make this video in the later part of October 2024, are really going to need to seriously think about what we are going to do. And if not for us, for our children, for our kids. I mean, it's really like that. It really is. There really is no margin for error, as it is with long periods of time, to consider a kind of drastic change that will be required. So, I'm just saying, watch Universal Basic, guys. It's a great show. It is, again, just subtly, subconsciously throwing a Freudian line to all of us, in that at the very most basic of levels, we can all live the quality of life that Universal Basic Guys does. And that can be real. That doesn't have to be a cartoon. That can actually happen. We can afford it. You don't need to work tirelessly for 40 years to get 10 years of some breathing room. I'm just saying, we already spend that amount of time biologically just sleeping. You feel me? Like, not to mention all of the time that we spend grooming, bathing, and eating. So, after these very basic things, again, basic things, there's really not much time after to do nothing or everything or something or a little bit, you know? So I'm just saying, universal basic income, I'm for it. Universal basic guys, I'm for it. I really hope this show gets renewed for a second season, and I really hope that lots and millions and everybody watches it again, so that at a very basic level we can begin to conceptualize the reality of there being a world where all of us get universal basic income. So, I hope you guys have a really good night. Bye.